So for this graph here, y equals x, we need to fill out all of these attributes. Remind me again what domain means. What all x values are. So if I look at the graph, is -5 part of the graph? Yeah, it's right here. Is there an x equals -5? Yes. Is there an x equals 2? Are there any x values that are missing? No. So domain is all real numbers. Don't put infinity, right? All real numbers. Right. It looks like an R like this. Okay? So range. Are there any y values that miss the graph? They're all represented. Every y value is represented on the graph, so it's all real numbers. What are the x-intercepts? 0. What is the y-intercept? 0. When is the graph going up? Now, up, when we say up, we're talking about from left to right. So as I travel from left to right, when is the graph going up? Everywhere. All real numbers. When is the graph going down? Never. It's always going up. No part of this graph is going down. So if I had a graph that looked like this would be up from here to here, down from here to here, and up from here over. All right? Positive. When is the graph positive? From 0 to infinity. Does 0 count? Is it above the x-axis at 0? No, it's on the x-axis, so we use parenthesis. What about infinity? Do we include infinity? You can never include infinity, so it's always parenthesis. What if it does count? What do you use? A bracket. All right? When is the graph negative? And we always list it from small to big, so negative infinity to 0, and we never include infinity. What about 0? Is it below the x-axis? No. So it's a parenthesis. Okay. What is the maximum value of this graph? Infinity, or you could say it has no maximum. What is the minimum value? Negative infinity, or no minimum. And symmetry. Does this graph have symmetry? Yeah, it has symmetry if we folded it right here. If we folded it along this line, it would also be symmetric. I don't know how technical we want to get, so let's just say yes or no. Because there are different ways to describe symmetry, and it gets kind of complicated, so we're just going to say yes or no. End behavior. As x goes to infinity, y approaches. So as x goes to the right, which way does y go? Up to positive infinity. As x goes to negative infinity, y goes down, which is negative infinity. Okay? So we're going to skip the next one. See the absolute value problem? So we need to type in the absolute value of x. Does anybody remember where that button is? Go into math and over to number and ABS. Now mine actually puts absolute value symbols in, but a lot of yours will just say ABS parenthesis, and you just stick your x in there. So I graph it. Yeah, the absolute value of x. Anybody having trouble getting that? Okay. So domain. I think this is number 4. So the domain is all real numbers. The range, so the range goes from 0 to infinity. Does 0 count? Yes. Is 0 actually one of the y values? Yes, so it gets a bracket. Does infinity count? No, never does. Okay, x-intercepts. Yes, this is number 4. X-intercepts, it touches the x-axis at 0. Where does it touch the y-axis? At 0. When is this graph going up? From 0 to infinity. Does 0 count? Well, it's going up and down at 0, right? It's not really flat. If I had a parabola, the bottom is actually flat. But in an absolute value, from this direction it's going down, and from this direction it's going up. And it can't be doing both, so we just say no, it doesn't count. That point creates a lot of problems in mathematics, especially in calculus. We run into other issues. Okay, decreasing from negative infinity to 0. Do I include either of those? Nope. Maximum, infinity. Minimum, no. No. What's the minimum value? 0. The range goes from 0 to infinity, so the minimum is 0. Symmetry. Yes, it has symmetry. Right down the middle. Okay, end behavior. As x goes to infinity, y goes to infinity. As x goes to infinity, y goes to, or sorry, negative infinity. Y goes to, they're both positive. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Positive. When is it above the x-axis? From 0 to infinity. And we don't include either of those because 0 is on the x-axis. When is it negative? From negative infinity to 0, and we don't include either of those. Now, everybody push mode on their calculator. Mode. And make sure your calculator is in radians, because on the back side there is a sine curve. And the sine curve will only graph correctly if you're in radians. So mode is right here. Just push mode and go down to radians and hit enter. All right, that's everything you need to know. Get to work.